She didn't cry. She didn't pack her things dramatically. She left the office the same way she arrived, quiet, calm, unnoticed. But 6 months before this moment, she had looked at him from across the boardroom table. He looked away, and that was the last thing she needed to see. Welcome back to Mr. Charles Stories, where true love is tested not by words, but by silence. If you've ever walked away hoping someone would follow you, this one's for you. Rena Vale woke up at 6:15 a.m., no alarm needed. Her body clock had been doing the work for years, but today her chest was unusually quiet. No weight, no rush. That alone told her everything. She took a deep breath, stepped into her slippers, and walked across her one-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn. The sun had started to fill her kitchen with golden light, but she didn't stop to savor it like usual. She had already made the decision. Today was her last day at Keen Link. The mirror in her hallway reflected a version of herself that looked free. Slate grey pants, white blouse, no blazer, no pretense. For the first time in 3 years, she didn't check her email before leaving home. The Keen Link building was cold steel and tinted glass. 38 floors of ego, ambition, and noise. But Rena had always carved her own kind of silence in it. She wasn't loud in meetings. She wasn't aggressive with deadlines. Yet somehow everyone respected her. Except one man, Silas Keen. She walked into the elevator with 3 other people she'd coached through anxiety crises during corporate restructuring last year. None of them knew she was leaving. None of them asked how she was doing. That was the thing about being the strong one. People forget to check on you. At 11:02 a.m., Rena stepped out of a team check-in. She didn't speak much. She watched the glass conference room door slide shut behind her. She walked the long hall back to her desk, past the floor-to-ceiling windows. The mechanical espresso machine, the mural of Keen Link's global impact. And then, she saw him. Silas, black suit, no tie, walking out of his private elevator, phone in hand. He was talking numbers, projections, something about fourth quarter trends. He glanced up, their eyes locked. Not for long, just long enough for her to wonder, would this be the time he said something? He didn't. He walked past her. Again, back at her desk, she opened her laptop. There were 15 new emails, none of them from him. She opened a blank draft. Subject, resignation notice. Rena Vale, her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She wasn't bitter. She wasn't even sad anymore. She typed cleanly, professionally. 2 weeks' notice. Offered to help transition her replacement. Thanked the team for the opportunity. Standard HR language. No personal notes. No mention of Silas. He wouldn't notice anyway. She clicked, send. That night, she sat in her kitchen with a glass of wine. It rained outside. Brooklyn rain. The kind that smudged light across windows and softened the city's sharpness. She replayed one moment over and over. 6 months ago, quarterly, all-to-hands meeting. Her first time presenting wellness data company-wide. He had walked in late, leaned against the back wall. He didn't clap when she finished, but he didn't look away either. His eyes stayed on her until everyone else left. She'd waited for him to approach. He never did, and now he never would. Rena didn't believe in chasing love, but she did believe in connection. In her work, she had taught dozens of men and women how to identify unhealthy attachment patterns. She knew all the signs: avoidant personalities, fear of vulnerability, power games disguised as leadership. And Silas, he wasn't cruel. He was careful, too careful to let her in, too silent to let her stay. She often taught her clients, silence doesn't always mean peace. Sometimes it's how fear hides. Now, she had to take her own advice. The next day, she packed her things before sunrise, left a thank you card on her desk, no farewell post on Slack, no team email. She walked out at 7:03 a.m., same way she came in 3 years ago. No one saw her leave. Silas Keen hated surprises. He built a billion-dollar empire on predictability, patterns, logic, timing. So when he opened the speaker list for the Lake Geneva Leadership Summit, He expected to see the same names, but there it was, Rena Vale. He leaned back in his chair, stunned. His assistant, Lena, paused mid-sentence. "Is something wrong, sir?" He didn't answer right away. He read it again. Rena Vale, children's therapist, founder, the Quiet Core Project, panelist, emotional resilience in leadership. Silas didn't move. He hadn't heard that name in 5 years, but he hadn't forgotten it for even one day. He minimized the screen and stared at the skyline. Why now? Why here? She wasn't supposed to be in his orbit again. He'd made sure of it, kept his focus narrow, his walls high, and his life busy. It worked. Until now. When Rena left Keenlink, Silas pretended it didn't affect him. He didn't ask for an exit interview, didn't ask if she was okay, didn't ask why she left, because deep down, he already knew. She waited for something that never came. A word, a gesture, even a simple, "Don't go." But Silas didn't do vulnerability. He did profit margins, market share, and efficiency. He did deals, not emotions. He told himself he had no time for messiness. He believed silence was strength. That saying nothing was better than saying the wrong thing. That belief, it cost him the one person who never asked for his title. Lena returned later that afternoon. "Do you want me to decline the summit?" He stared at his reflection in the black mirror of his office window. "I'll go," he said finally. She looked surprised. "Would you like to be moved to a different panel?" He almost said yes. Almost. But then he thought about that day, when he stood in the back of the auditorium watching her speak, how he wanted to stay behind and thank her. Ask her if she meant what she said about emotional walls and unmet needs. But he walked away instead. This time, he wouldn't walk. "Keep me on the same panel," he said. Lena blinked. "Are you sure?" He nodded. "I'm tired of pretending I'm not." He flew private, but he felt exposed. Silas Keene, the man who once addressed the UN on innovation, now unsure about how to look someone in the eye without hiding behind his status. His assistant had scheduled him with talking points. He deleted them. Instead, he opened an old folder buried in his tablet, a PDF copy of a blog. Post Rena wrote for the company wellness newsletter 4 years ago. Emotional maturity isn't about showing all your feelings. It's about knowing which feelings to acknowledge and which ones you're avoiding. He read it 5 times, and then he turned off the screen. The night before the summit began, he couldn't sleep. Not because of the keynote, not because of the press, but because he didn't know if she'd look at him like she used to, or like a stranger. He lay in his hotel suite, still in dress pants and a black undershirt, staring at the ceiling. Would she smile? Would she nod and move on? Would she ignore him completely? He didn't know which would hurt more. The truth was simple, ugly, but simple. Silas didn't chase people, not because he didn't care, but because he didn't know how to deal with not being enough. His mother left when he was 9. Foster care followed, a parade of homes, rules, suspicion. He learned early, don't get attached, don't speak first, don't hope for anything that can be taken. So when he met Rena, warm, grounded, unshaken by his money, he didn't know what to do with that. She was the kind of woman who saw behind things, and he didn't want to be seen. The morning session was packed, executives from every coast, a few international partners. The room buzzed with side conversations and nervous glances at the program schedule. Silas stood at the back again, same posture, same stillness, different intention. Then she walked in, Rena. She wore a navy dress and a soft grey shawl. Her hair was pinned back, elegant but simple. She looked like peace. And he felt like a storm standing in the doorway. Their eyes met briefly. She didn't smile. She didn't look away either. She looked through him, and he felt it in his chest. Later that evening, before the panel, he sat alone, reviewing nothing. He had no cue cards, no script, just 5 years of silence. When they called them to the stage, he didn't stand right away. Rena was already walking toward the fireside setup. He followed, calm on the outside, screaming inside. As they sat down, he glanced sideways. She looked straight ahead, but her hands, they were steady, not clenched, not nervous. He remembered those hands, the way she always tucked her pen into her notepad during group therapy sessions, the way she poured tea during team debriefs. She was calm, even when others weren't. That was her gift, and that's what he let walk out of his building. In leadership seminars, Silas often talked about controlling outcomes, about knowing your numbers, about minimizing volatility. But what no one told him in business school was that the biggest risks aren't financial. They're human. You can lose a market and recover. But when you lose someone who once believed in your better self, that loss has no KPI, and no amount of capital can buy a second chance. Have you ever walked away from someone, not because you stopped caring, but because they never stepped forward? Did you ever sit quietly, hoping they'd notice what you didn't say out loud? Sometimes silence is louder than rejection, and the cost of not speaking can last for years. Drop a comment below. Would you have waited longer if you were Rena? Or walked out too? If you've ever been in that space between hope and goodbye, like, share, and subscribe to Mr. Charles Stories. The resort in Lake Geneva was designed for distraction. There were no corporate logos on the walls, no buzzing phones or clacking heels. The air smelled like eucalyptus and old wood. Outside, snow drifted down in slow-motion silence. But inside, Silas Keene couldn't stop thinking. She was somewhere on the same property. That knowledge followed him, like breath on the back of his neck. He hadn't seen her since that first glimpse in the main room. And yet, she was everywhere. In the glass of water he couldn't finish. In the reflection on the conference windows. In the silence of his room, when the door clicked closed. Rena Vale was not haunting him. She was reminding him of all the things he never said. He walked past the indoor pool area. The steam fogged the edges of the windows, making the world look like it had been erased. For a second, he imagined what it might have been. Like if he'd followed her that day she left, walked into her office, asked her to stay, said something, anything. He hadn't, and now he had to share a stage with her in 12 hours. He didn't rehearse. He couldn't. The words he needed weren't in bullet points or research summaries. They were buried in regret. Rena was in the library when it started to snow harder. She liked the quiet there. The walls were lined with old hardcover volumes, some untouched in decades. She wasn't reading them, just letting them keep her company. She remembered this place. They had hosted a smaller event here 6 years ago, back when she was still new to Keen Link. She'd come here to breathe between meetings. Back then, she imagined Silas Keene was just a figurehead, a name on the top of contracts. But then she met him, and he watched her, and she let herself hope. She traced her finger along the edge of a page she wasn't really reading. People like Silas were good at disappearing emotionally while standing right in front of you. It was never about absence. It was about avoidance, and she'd learned to read that fluently. Someone approached. She looked up, half expecting him, but it was one of the coordinators with a revised schedule. Small update. You and Keene are now set for the fireside panel tomorrow night. Time shifted to 7:30 p.m., the woman said, smiling. Rena nodded. That's fine. The woman paused. You two know each other? Rena didn't flinch. Professionally. A long time ago. Well, he's kept to himself since check-in. The woman offered casually. Not that it's my business, but he's different in person than I expected. He always is. Rena replied quietly. That night, Rena laid her notebook on the side table of her suite and opened to a blank page. The hotel had gifted every guest a personalized leather journal. Her name was etched into the cover. Rena Vale, Quiet Call Project. She didn't intend to write anything down, but the pen felt comfortable in her hand. Like muscle memory, she wrote one sentence. I won't speak to punish him. I'll speak because I healed. The next morning, the sun shone off the lake so brightly that no one believed it had snowed just hours earlier. Silas stood on the back patio in a thick coat, sipping coffee he didn't finish. He didn't like coffee. He drank it for appearances. The more he thought about Rena, the more the performance of his life exhausted him. He wondered if she'd slept well, if she had thought about the way he looked now, older, more tired around the eyes. He hadn't changed much, but his loneliness had settled in deeper. There was a time when he thought success would insulate him from this kind of emotion. But now, standing outside with $2,000 shoes slowly freezing against stone tile, he realized something no board meeting ever taught him. Emotional cowardice is expensive, not in dollars, in people like her. Later that afternoon, the pre-panel gathering began. Rena was already inside the side lounge when Silas entered. He spotted her immediately. She stood near a window, wearing a black sweater dress and flat boots. Elegant, unaffected, like she didn't need the attention to hold the room. He stayed back for a moment, letting his nerves surprise him. He hadn't felt nervous in years, but Rena wasn't just someone from his past. She was the person who saw through everything he tried to be. She turned, their eyes met, and for a full second, they said nothing. It was enough. Rena, he said quietly. Silas. Her voice was calm, steady, no bitterness, no forced warmth. I didn't expect to see you on the list, he added, stepping closer. Neither did I, she said, without moving back. There was a pause, not awkward, just honest. I've read about what you're building, he said. Quiet core. It's good work. She tilted her head slightly. And I heard you just acquired 2 new markets last quarter. Still collecting cities? He almost smiled. Still trying to feel grounded. And still not using your words, she said. Not with malice, but with memory. He took that, didn't fight it. That alone told her something had shifted. I don't expect you to want a conversation, he said. Then don't open one you're not willing to stay in. It wasn't a threat. It was a boundary. He nodded. She turned back toward the crowd. She didn't walk away. But she didn't lean in either. The moment passed, but not the weight of it. After the welcome speech, the panel coordinator gave both of them a few logistical notes. They'd be seated beside each other, 2 chairs angled toward the fire. A moderator would guide the conversation, 15 minutes of individual reflection. Then joint discussion. Audience Q&A optional. Silas nodded through the details, but his mind wasn't on the format. It was on how to say the one thing he hadn't said 5 years ago. He watched her from across the room, scribbling something into her notebook, her expression unreadable. He had no idea if she was preparing a speech or preparing to hold him accountable without saying a word. Either way, she deserved every second of truth he owed her. And this time, he wouldn't let fear win. The panel room was warm, lit with amber lamps and a fire that crackled low in the stone hearth. The audience was smaller than the morning sessions, but more intimate. 100 or so chairs arranged in a half circle. No stage, no podium, just 2 chairs, set slightly apart, facing both the fire and the guests. Rena arrived first. She wore the same calm she always did. Neutral expression, hands folded, back straight. Silas arrived 2 minutes later, dressed in charcoal and navy. Not a wrinkle on him, but there was something unguarded in his face that hadn't been there before. They nodded politely at each other as they took their seats. The moderator, a former Fortune 500 exec turned coach, introduced the theme, Emotional Resilience in Leadership. Rena was invited to speak first. She didn't use notes. She never did. Her voice was calm but carried, her tone steady, grounded in truth. Resilience isn't just about surviving chaos, she began. It's about staying intact without closing yourself off. Some of the strongest leaders I've worked with aren't the ones who never fall apart. They're the ones who know how to return. The room leaned in. Her words weren't dramatic, but they reached something quiet in everyone listening. Silence, she continued, can be protection. But sometimes it's just fear in a different outfit. I've sat across from people who built billion-dollar firms and still can't say, I was scared to be seen. She didn't look at him, not once, but she didn't need to. Her presence was enough. When the moderator thanked her, the room exhaled. A soft applause followed, nothing loud, but deeply felt. Then it was Silas's turn. He didn't clear his throat, didn't unfold a speech. He looked at the audience for a long second, then back at the fire. "I've built my entire life around control," he said. "Control of markets, of risk, of image. I used to think emotional distance made me sharper, that the less I felt, the more clearly I'd lead." His eyes didn't move. They stayed on the flames. "But there's someone I didn't chase," he continued. "Not because I didn't care, but because I thought caring made me weak. I convinced myself that silence was strength, that waiting was wisdom. A pause. I was wrong." The room quieted even more. He let it sit. "I used to tell myself she would understand, that my stillness meant safety, but she wasn't waiting for a mind. She was waiting for presence." The audience barely breathed. He looked up then, just once, at Rena. She didn't meet his gaze, but she didn't flinch either. "I didn't forget her," he said softly. "I remembered everything I didn't say, and the longer I waited, the heavier it became." The moderator thanked him. The applause came slower, heavier, not out of politeness, but recognition. Silas leaned back in his chair. For once, he didn't look like a man trying to win something. He looked like a man who had lost something, and knew it. The joint discussion began. The moderator posed a question about emotional risks in high-level decision-making. Rena answered first, measured, professional. She didn't steer it personal. Silas followed. When asked if he'd changed his emotional leadership style, he didn't dance around it. "Let's say I've started telling the truth," he said, "and I'm learning that's what people need more than inspiration." The moderator smiled, pivoted to a light question, and thanked both of them. The panel ended, but the energy in the room didn't fade. People stayed seated, thinking. Rena stood slowly. Silas waited. She didn't walk away, but she didn't speak either. They moved through the room with slow grace, smiling politely at guests, pausing for brief conversations. But they didn't talk to each other, not yet. Later, the resort hosted a private dinner for panelists and executive attendees. It was optional, RSVP only. Rena hadn't intended to stay. She didn't want to be trapped at a round table next to Silas, pretending the evening hadn't happened. But when she entered her room and set her journal on the nightstand, something shifted. She didn't come here to hide. She came here to be honest. And avoiding dinner would be a lie she was no longer interested in telling. So she changed. Olive wrap dress, no heels, simple gold studs, her hair tied back in a low knot. Downstairs, she gave her name at the hostess stand. The staff member smiled. "You're at table 4, Miss Vale." As she approached, she saw him already seated. Table for 8, half full. Silas sat beside an executive from Zurich, talking about urban transit planning. He saw her, stood slightly, polite, reserved. She nodded and took the seat beside him, because that's what the name card said. Another coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe life was finally forcing them to sit together, as the title of this chapter suggested. Dinner began. Salads arrived. Rena made polite conversation with the woman on her left, a non-profit CEO from Oregon. Silas spoke in low tones to his right. They didn't speak directly, but eventually it couldn't be avoided. "Would you like more wine?" he asked, motioning to the server. She shook her head. "No, thank you." Another silence, but this one didn't sting. Later, after dessert, guests began to leave. Rena stayed. So did he. He turned to her, quietly. No one else at the table was paying attention. "I didn't plan the seating," he said. "I believe you," she replied, not looking up from her water glass. He waited. "You never plan the hard parts," she added. He nodded, accepting the truth without defense. "I didn't know how to reach you," he said. "And by the time I figured it out, it felt too late," she finished. He looked at her then, not with expectation, but apology. She set her napkin down, looked at him, calm but clear. "It wasn't too late," she said. "You were too proud. And that silence, the one between them now, it didn't hurt. It healed." The next morning, The air over Lake Geneva was still, no wind, no birdsong. The resort grounds felt like they were holding their breath. Guests moved through the lobby with quiet steps, sipping coffee, reviewing notes, preparing for the day's final sessions. But Rena stood still. She hadn't planned to walk by the lake again, but her body led her there before her mind caught up. The snow was thin now, melting along the shoreline. She stopped at the edge of the trail, pulling her scarf tighter, and let herself breathe for the first time in hours. Behind her, she heard steps. She didn't turn. He walked slowly, not with the confidence of a man who owned cities, but with the weight of someone who had finally learned to be still. He stopped a few feet away. "You come here often?" Silas asked, voice low. "Only when I need clarity," she said. "Did you find any?" "I found the same silence you gave me 5 years ago," she said softly. "The difference is, I know how to listen to it now." He didn't answer right away. His hands stayed in his coat pockets. Not defensive, just grounded. "I thought about messaging you. Dozens of times," he said. "I even wrote drafts, but never sent them." "No." She turned toward him. "Why?" He looked at the lake. The light bounced across the water like glass ready to shatter. "I told myself I missed my moment, that you'd moved on. And then I told myself I didn't deserve another chance." She didn't soften. "Not yet." "And what do you tell yourself now?" "I don't know what I deserve, but I know I'd rather show up late than stay gone." For a moment, the words hung between them. She nodded. Just once. Not approval, not forgiveness, just recognition. They walked in silence for a while, not beside each other, but not apart either. She stopped at the bend in the path, where the pine trees bent toward the lake like they were whispering. "I used to wait for you to see me," she said, "every day. I'd think, maybe today he'll stop outside my office. Maybe he'll say something small, even something stupid. Just something." "I know," he said. "And you didn't." "I was afraid." That admission was new, and honest, and heavy. Afraid of what? That if I let you in, I'd never be able to close the door again. She turned toward him, her expression unreadable. "Is that a bad thing?" It was then, and now? He looked her in the eyes, steady. "Now I realize I locked myself inside when I shut you out." She said, "Nothing." Because sometimes silence is not avoidance. Sometimes it's permission. He stepped closer, not close enough to touch, but enough for her to feel that this moment wasn't theater. It wasn't performance. "You said something last night about not speaking to punish, but to heal." She didn't remember saying it aloud. It must have been a line from the panel. Still, she nodded. "I've been punishing myself for a long time," he said, "and I'm tired." The words weren't rehearsed. They weren't romantic, but they were real. She could feel it. "Then stop punishing," she replied, "and start showing up." He didn't move. "I don't need grand gestures, Silas. I never did. But I do need consistency. Presence. The kind you never gave me. I want to," he said. "Now." She looked at him. For the first time in days, her voice dropped into something more vulnerable. "You don't get to want me now like nothing happened. There was damage. I know. There were years. I know. And there's no guarantee you won't disappear again." His jaw tightened slightly. Not in anger, but in shame. "I'm not asking for your trust today," he said. "I'm asking for the chance to earn it." The wind picked up slightly, brushing her hair across her cheek. She didn't fix it. She let it stay there. "And what if I'm not the same woman I was 5 years ago? Then I'll meet you where you are now." That was the line. Not poetic, just honest. She turned her head slightly. The lake behind him was beginning to glow with the rising sun. "I have to pack," she said. He didn't ask to walk her back. He just nodded. She began walking away. No drama, no flair. And that sound, her boots in the snow, moving steadily away from him, that sound was the loneliest thing he'd ever heard. Until she stopped, turned, looked over her shoulder. "Dinner's on your side of town, right?" she asked. He blinked. Yes. Good. Don't be late. Then she turned again. And this time, her leaving didn't feel like goodbye. It felt like the start of something that might not break. Silas arrived first. He checked the reservation name twice, even though he knew it was correct. The restaurant was tucked between two brownstone buildings off a quieter street in Manhattan's Upper East Side, a place most executives wouldn't bother with because it didn't serve anything plated with foam or sea smoke. He remembered Rena once mentioning it in passing. "There's a Thai place that makes you feel like you're in someone's living room," she had said. No frills, just flavor and peace. He sat at the table for two near the back. Not private, but distant enough from the dinner crowd. He didn't check his phone, not even once. Rena arrived 5 minutes later. No fanfare, no theatrics. She wore a dark green coat, a soft cream scarf, and minimal makeup. Her hair was down, natural. She looked like a woman who wasn't here to perform, and that made her even more beautiful. Silas stood, nodded once. "You look." She smiled lightly. "On time?" He returned the smile. "Yes." And also that they sat. The menus were already there, but neither touched them yet. For a moment, neither of them said a word. The air between them wasn't uncomfortable, but it buzzed with possibility, with caution. "I wasn't sure you'd come," he said finally. "I wasn't either," she replied. "But then I thought, if I've waited this long to hear something real from you, I might as well stay long enough to see if you mean it." He nodded, respectful. "I'm glad you did." Their server arrived and took their orders. Nothing extravagant, just food, simple and filling. When they were alone again, Rena placed her hands on the table gently, palms down. "You didn't reach out in 5 years, and now you're sitting here like that version of you never existed. Why?" He didn't deflect. "I didn't know how to come back." She waited. "I told myself I'd ruin what I wanted to fix, that you'd moved on, that I was a memory better left untouched. And then I saw your name on that speaker list. And all the excuses fell apart." Rena didn't blink. "I don't need you to explain what you didn't do," she said. "I need you to show me what you're willing to do now." He met her gaze. "I'm willing to be consistent, present, even when it's not comfortable." "Good," she said, "because I don't have space for someone who only shows up when it's convenient." He exhaled through his nose. "I don't want convenience, I want honesty." She tilted her head. "Do you even know what that looks like between us?" "I think it starts here," he said. "This, us. No distractions, no performances." Their food arrived. They thanked the server and shifted the conversation slightly toward lighter things. What she'd been doing with quiet core, how he had recently stepped back from daily operations, how different their worlds had become, how much they'd both grown. By the time they finished eating, the silence between them wasn't cautious. It was warm. He paid without asking. She didn't protest. As they stood to leave, he reached for her coat, holding it for her. She let him. Outside, the air was crisp but kind. The city glowed with soft light, traffic humming in the distance. They stood on the sidewalk for a moment. The world moved around them, but they stood still. "I don't want to assume anything," he said. "Good," she replied. "But I'd like to see you again, without panels, without assignments." She looked up at him, her face calm, unreadable. "I'm not going to give you a script," she said. "There's no timeline for making this work. I'm not asking for one. Then take your time and show up for it." He nodded. Then, before she could step away, he added, "I still remember the kind of tea you drink." She smiled, small and genuine. "And I still remember that you don't like tea at all. You just drink it when you're uncomfortable." He chuckled. "You read me better than anyone ever has. Then don't make me regret it." With that, she turned and began walking toward the train. Not a dramatic exit, not a tease. But as she walked away, she glanced back, and when she saw him still standing there, still watching, not leaving, she knew he wasn't chasing. He was staying. Silas hadn't been to Queens in over a decade. His driver offered to wait, but Silas waved him off. He needed to walk the block himself. No tinted windows, no insulated silence, just the uneven sidewalk under his shoes, the sounds of distant music bleeding through apartment, windows, the smell of someone's fried chicken being made in a kitchen above him. This wasn't his world, not anymore, but something about it made his chest loosen. He carried a small paper bag in his left hand. Inside was a box of Rena's favorite pastries from a tiny shop she once mentioned in a passing comment during a wellness meeting. He remembered because it was one of the few times she smiled that day. She didn't know he'd show up today, but she had given him permission. "Don't be late," she'd said. He was 5 minutes early. He checked the address twice before pressing the buzzer. A pause, then her voice slightly crackled through the speaker. "Yes? It's me." She didn't ask who. The door clicked open. He stepped inside, walked up the narrow staircase, and knocked once at her apartment. Rena opened the door, still dressed casually. No makeup, a faded sweater and joggers. She looked like someone who wasn't trying, and yet he had never seen her more clearly. "I brought something," he said, lifting the bag slightly. She took it, nodded, and stepped aside. Her apartment was small but warm. Bookshelves lined one wall, filled with journals, fiction, psychology texts. A few framed photos, none of them showed another man. But that didn't mean her life had been empty. It meant she curated her space. He didn't want to ask too many questions too soon. She walked to the kitchen, unpacked the pastries, and set them on a small table near the window. The light spilled in across the wood, making it feel like a place meant for mornings and slow conversations. "Coffee?" she asked. "Yes, black." She raised an eyebrow. "You still drink that stuff?" He smiled. "Only when I'm nervous." She turned and started brewing without commenting. He took that as mercy. They sat across from each other with cups in hand. He watched her, not in a way that begged for attention, in a way that said, "I missed this, even though I never earned it the first time." "Do you remember the last thing I said to you?" she asked, not lifting her eyes. He thought, closed his eyes. "I think it was when you passed me in the hallway after your last team presentation. You said, 'Good luck with the town hall.'" She nodded. "I did." "And you didn't even look up." He didn't defend himself. "I thought about that for weeks," she said. "Not because I was angry, but because I realized I was invisible to someone I respected." "You were never invisible to me," he said. "You just acted like I was." "I know. And now?" "Now, I want you to know exactly how seen you are." She sipped her coffee. He let the moment breathe. "You said something during the panel," she said after a long pause, "about remembering everything you didn't say." "I did. Tell me one of those things, right now." He looked at her. "I used to walk past your office and stop just outside the doorway," he said. "I'd pretend to look at my phone or glance at the hallway screen. But the truth is, I stopped because I wanted to say something, anything. I just didn't know how to make it sound worthy of you." She didn't smile, but her posture softened. "You let fear win," she said. "I did. Do you still?" "No." She set her cup down. "Okay," she said. "Then you can stay for lunch." It was the smallest invitation, but for him, it felt like a door opening. She made grilled cheese and tomato soup. Simple. The kind of meal someone makes when they're not trying to impress, but trying to share. He took one bite and grinned. "You always knew how to make comfort feel classy." She laughed quietly. "It's soup, Silas, not a monologue." He looked down, smiling. "Still the best meal I've had all week." They ate slowly, talked lightly. No deep dives, no unpacking yet. Just two people learning how to sit across from each other without armor. After lunch, she pulled out a box of board games from under the bookshelf. He raised a brow. "You still play?" "It helps my clients, teaches them patience, structure, communication." "Want to lose at Scrabble?" He nodded. Desperately, they played for over an hour. He lost twice. She didn't gloat. Around 4 p.m., her neighbor's kid started playing piano upstairs. The music drifted through the walls, clumsy, out of rhythm, charming. Silas sat back on the floor, one knee up, one arm resting across it. "I forgot how quiet a Saturday can be," he said. She was sitting cross-legged across from him, her back against the couch. "That's because you've been living in cities designed to never let you pause." He looked at her. "Maybe that's why I always felt like something was missing." Rena met his gaze, and for the first time, didn't look away. "Do you feel that now?" she asked. He shook his head. "No, not here." The light dimmed slightly as clouds rolled in, but the room didn't lose its warmth. She stood and reached for a blanket on the armchair, draped it across the couch. "You want to stay for a little while longer?" she asked. He didn't even hesitate. "Yes." She sat beside him, close but not touching. They didn't speak much after that, and for a man who built his life on control and momentum, sitting still beside her, without filling the silence, felt like the bravest thing he'd done all year. The next time they saw each other wasn't planned, and yet it unfolded like it had been waiting for its moment all along. Rena was invited to speak at a downtown mentorship event hosted by a youth non-profit. She had been preparing her segment for days, a short talk on emotional literacy for teenage girls. Nothing fancy, but real. She believed in teaching young people the words they never got growing up. Silas showed up unannounced, not as a headline, not as a sponsor, but as a man who promised to show up. She noticed him the moment she stepped on stage. He stood near the back, again, quiet, still, watching, just like that first time. But this time, she didn't feel disappointed when he didn't interrupt. She felt supported. Her talk was brief, focused. She used examples the teens could understand. Moments of regret that didn't turn into shame. Pauses that gave room for choice. She didn't lecture. She guided. When it was over, the applause wasn't loud. It was honest. A few of the girls even came up to hug her. Silas waited until the crowd began to thin out. Then he stepped forward, not expecting a greeting, not assuming a moment. "You were incredible," he said. She glanced up from her clipboard. "You always say that when I speak, I always mean it." She nodded. "Thanks for coming." He looked around. The room still held energy, hope in the form of folded chairs and paper programs. "Do you have time?" he asked. "I have 30 minutes before I meet the volunteers for cleanup. I'll take 5. She smiled faintly. "Walk with me." They stepped out into the cool evening. The streetlights flickered on one by one, casting long shadows across the sidewalk. She didn't rush. Neither did he. "You looked relaxed up there," he said after a few steps. "I'm used to it now. You're good at making people feel safe." "It's the opposite of how I felt for most of my 20s, she said plainly. He didn't respond, but his shoulders dipped slightly. "You know," she added, "I used to think helping others would fix the parts of me that felt forgotten, but that's not how it works." "How does it work?" "You don't fix it. You learn to hold it better." He looked at her. "You make it sound simple. It's not, but it's worth the wait." They reached the corner where a coffee stand was still open. She ordered green jasmine tea. He ordered nothing. "I remember when you used to bring me tea before our team check-ins," she said. "Even when we barely spoke. I brought it because it gave me an excuse to see you." She turned to him. "Then why didn't you stay after?" "I was afraid I'd say the wrong thing." She smiled. Not sad, not sarcastic, just knowing. "You said nothing. That was worse." He nodded. "I know that now." They stood in silence as she sipped her tea. "I want to keep seeing you," he said. "Not just once a week, or whenever the universe decides it's time. I want rhythm. You want a routine. I want something real. Real isn't always scheduled. I can be flexible." She looked at him again, sharper this time. "Silas, what happens when this gets hard? When I don't agree with you? When I need more than you're used to giving?" "I stay," he said without pause. "Not perfectly, but fully. And when my life isn't quiet anymore, when it's messy and loud and ordinary, I'll learn to live in it." That was new. That was growth. Rena finished her tea and threw the cup into the nearby bin. Come to the house next week. Saturday, early. I'm helping a few teens prep for college interviews. I'll be there. Good. You'll be doing mock interviews. And I won't protect you. I'd expect nothing less. They parted without touching. But that night, for the first time in years, she wrote in her journal. He didn't disappear after the applause faded. He stayed when there was no stage left. Days later, Silas kept his word. He arrived early Saturday morning at her apartment in jeans and a long sleeve Henley, holding a small box of donated planners for the students. Rena let him in, handed him a clipboard, and pointed him toward the group of teens on the living room floor. No suits, no speeches, she warned. He saluted. Yes, ma'am. The morning moved quickly. He sat across from 3 teenagers, 2 girls and 1 boy, asking questions about their goals, their challenges, their understanding of emotional intelligence. They were smart, raw, unfiltered. They made him laugh. They made him pause. At one point, the youngest girl asked, "Are you her boyfriend?" Rena raised a brow from across the room. Silas looked down at the girl and said, "I'm someone who's learning how to show up the right way." The girl shrugged. Sounds like a yes with extra words. Everyone laughed. After the students left, Rena brought him a bottle of water and sank onto the couch beside him. "You were good with them. They're honest. I like that. They liked you. I didn't ruin your reputation. You might have made me look cooler than I actually am." I doubt that. She looked at him for a long time, then reached for his left sleeve, rolling it slightly to straighten the cuff. "You always rush this part," she said. "I didn't know anyone noticed. I notice a lot of things." He let her adjust the fabric, her fingers brushing against his wrist. It wasn't romantic in the traditional sense, but it was deeply intimate. He didn't move. She let her hand rest there for a moment longer than necessary, then pulled away. "Stay for lunch." Always. They went back to Lake Geneva the following month. This time, not for a summit or a panel, not because someone assigned them to the same dinner table, but because Rena invited him. She needed quiet, real quiet, the kind that wasn't wrapped in city horns or coffee shop chatter. Silas offered to book something luxurious, but she said no. "I don't want marble bathrooms or skyline views. I want space, solitude, and a lake." So they booked a small guest house on the far side of the lake. 2 bedrooms, a fireplace, a kitchen with 1 small window that let in golden light through lace curtains. It felt like somewhere time forgot. They arrived late afternoon, snow crunching under the wheels of his car. Rena stepped out first, tugging her scarf tighter. Silas followed, carrying both their bags without being asked. He didn't talk much as they unpacked. Neither did she. It wasn't tension. It was peace. After settling in, she opened a small notebook by the window, started writing. He built a fire. No instructions needed, no narration. An hour passed before either of them spoke. She looked up from her writing. "You're quiet. I'm listening." "To what?" "You." She closed the notebook. "I haven't said anything. You have, just not with words." She didn't argue. She let that statement settle, let herself believe he was telling the truth. Later that night, she made dinner. Roasted vegetables, lentil stew, cornbread. He tried to help, but mostly just cut things too thick and asked where the measuring spoons were. After they ate, they sat in front of the fire. A blanket draped across both their legs, 2 mugs of tea balanced on a small tray between them. Rena turned toward him, 1 leg tucked under herself. "What's the worst lie you ever told?" she asked. He didn't hesitate. "That I was fine." "When?" "Every year between age 12 and 35, she nodded slowly. "What did it cost you?" He stared at the fire. Everything that required closeness. He didn't say her name. He didn't have to. Rena took a slow breath. "I used to tell myself that you didn't owe me anything, that you were who you were, and it was my job not to take it personally. But it was personal, eventually, yes. Especially when I realized I was tailoring myself around someone who wouldn't bend, I thought bending meant breaking. It doesn't. She paused. Bending is how you survive storms. Silas leaned back slightly, his hand resting on the cushion between them. I'm sorry I didn't know that. I'm sorry I let myself be so patient. That hurt, but it was fair. He didn't ask for a pass. Instead, he said, "Tell me something I should have noticed about you." She looked at him, really looked. "That I was never trying to change you. I just wanted to be seen. I see you now. Do you?" "Yes." She nodded, not to accept it fully, but to acknowledge that it was a start. They sat like that for a long time. No more questions, no more digging. Later, as they washed the dishes side by side, Renner handed him a wet plate. He dried it. Their hands touched. He didn't pull away this time. She didn't either. That night, he didn't stay in the guest room. But nothing happened in the way others might assume. He sat on the floor by the bed, while she journaled under the lamp. They didn't talk. They didn't reach for each other, but she didn't ask him to leave. And when she closed the notebook and turned off the light, she whispered, "Thank you for staying." He replied, "Thank you for letting me." And that was enough. The next morning, sunlight stretched across the wood floors of the cabin like a quiet invitation. Silas was already awake, sitting at the edge of the couch with a mug in his hand, half full and cold. He hadn't slept much, not because of discomfort, but because his mind had refused to quiet down. He had spent the night in the same room with Renner, not holding her, not speaking, just sharing space. And it shifted something deep inside him, not because it was romantic, but because it was safe. Renner walked into the room barefoot, wrapped in a thick robe, her curls still damp from a quick shower. She rubbed her eyes as she walked past him and mumbled something that sounded like, "Don't talk to me until coffee." He smiled into his cup. She brewed it herself, strong, 1 sugar, sat on the floor in front of the fire, pulled her knees to her chest, and looked at him. "You stayed quiet. I didn't want to break the quiet you gave me. That's rare," she said. "What is? A man who understands when silence isn't empty." He set his cup down. "I'm trying to be what I should have been.